Hello and welcome back to the Schooner Pod. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. With me today is Jamison Maxwell. And folks, we hope you've had a lovely holiday season from Christmas to everybody's favorite holiday, Boxing Day. We hope you've had a good time and you've been able to travel safe and be safe with your family. But I have good news because, look, the holiday season might be great. Christmas, solid. Boxing Day, solid. All these Kwanzaa, pretty cool. Hanukkah, also cool. Nothing, and I mean nothing, tops the Cheez-It Bowl. Oklahoma's bowl game with the Florida State Seminoles this Thursday, and we're here to talk about it. Jamison, I've been waiting a long time to ask you this. Are you feeling the cheesiest?
I woke up feeling the cheesiest, Bobby. Like, easy. I felt so cheesy these past couple days that we almost recorded this on Christmas Day. We thought about it. That's how
legitimately did.
About some Cheez-Its.
Yeah, we literally almost had a Cheez-It Bowl conversation as a highlight of our Christmas Day. So that, love to see that. But no, for real though, all bits aside, let's talk about this game, which I think is a bit of an uphill battle for the Sooners. Obviously, the Cheez-It Bowl selected them a little bit high ahead of a couple other teams that may have deserved it. Texas Tech being one of them, which, by the way, Cactus Gang ranting and raving and just destroying Cheez-Its mentions because they're mad about missing out on the Cheez-It Bowl is genuinely one of the funniest things ever. But
we obviously expected this to happen.
Of course. Oh, yeah. No, we expected Texas Tech to be upset about this, of course, and everyone to be upset about this. Baylor got stuck in a cold venue. Anyways, it's a bit of a mismatch because the Cheez-It Bowl just wanted OU. They wanted the brand. They wanted the fans. But the team's not really well matched with Florida State, is it now?
No, it isn't. And this team that is missing a significant amount of our good players for this bowl game already had deficiencies to begin with. And what Florida State does well is really what Oklahoma does not do well defending and, on the offense side of the ball as well. Losing our two tackles for this game and then losing, defensive lineman and Jalen Redmond and some depth pieces. Woof. I'm really hoping for the best this game, but we'll break it down and we'll tell you where our deficiencies are.
Yeah, so where do we want to start? Which side of the ball?
With Florida State's run game, honestly. Let's start with our defense and Florida State's offense, because Florida State, honestly, seems like everyone's playing. There's not really many opt-outs or transfer portal guys. I think that there's a couple guys that are in the portal for Florida State that are going to continue to practice, from what I'm catching. So there's not really a lot of guys that they're missing. They're really good players continuing to play. Jordan Travis at quarterback, dual threat guy, said he's returning next year. This guy is pretty good quarterback. He's had a really good season. He's a type of guy that'll be sneaky next season. Could be a top 10 quarterback in football next year. And he's that type of guy that gives OU troubles in every season. I understand OU fans think dual threats always screw us over, but we've seen it this season. Adrian Martinez legitimately made us look like fools out there, and Jordan Travis could do the same thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. Jordan Travis has been an absolute revelation for the Seminoles this season. He's been really good and honestly a little bit slept on overall when you talk about the national conversation about quarterbacks. I feel like his name doesn't get brought up a ton, but he's been absolutely incredible for them.
Yeah, and the thing is, we're worried about him, the rushing attack, and they've also got a really good running back too. It's going to be a tough. Trey Benson's had a really good season. It's just a dual threat quarterback with a good running back going against our rush defense that has been absolutely poor. You've seen what teams like Baylor have done to us that can, play the zone option like K-State did to us and just pound it down and just tire our defense in the middle. It's going to be tough. We're going to have to see really big games from our linebackers because our defensive line is going to be weak. We don't have the depth that we had during the season. That wasn't much to begin with. Can Danny Stutzman and David Egwebu come out and have these kind of breakout games even amidst their poor season and kind of stuff some of these run gaps? We're going to really need some big plays to get this team behind on early downs and first and second down to force them to throw a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's the key. And they're doing it with a pretty green defense there, especially on the line. You know, losing Redmond, massive break for the Sooners. It was to be expected, but yeah, no, it's going to be really difficult because you've noted, we struggled to stop Squirrel Williams when we were at full strength.
Yes.
This state team, I feel like, is a bit better than that. They're 13th in the country. This is a team that is more highly ranked than one of the New Year's Six participants, which
Yes.
is Tulane. So this is a good team. Don't I know they've had a bad couple years, and for me, I think they have absolutely stepped it up. I didn't see them going on this run at all. That LSU game legitimately surprised me.
Mhm.
But really looking at them, they had a tough stretch in the middle where they lost to Wake, NC State, and Clemson. Tough 3-game stretch for sure, but they were competitive in all of those.
Yeah, and the games that they won emphatically. Like the majority of their wins this season were by double digits. Other than that Florida game to end the season, we can just go back and they beat Louisiana, a bowl team, by 32. They beat Syracuse on the road by 35. Everyone remembers that Miami game where they went to Miami and beat them 45-3. They have been hot recently. Before that, they beat Georgia Tech Scrappy Dogs by 25 points and only lost to Clemson by 6, NC State by 2, and then Wake Forest was a little bit closer than the scoreboard showed. 3 losses to 3 good teams and pretty much blowing out the rest of their competition. Like we said, this is a really good team that we're going against. This is not your just run-of-the-mill. This isn't the Florida game in the past couple seasons where we played Kyle Trask. This is not the Oregon Bowl game from last season. This is a different thing. This is a full strength team with not a lot of opt-outs like we'd seen from those past 2 big name brands we played in the postseason. And we're playing a full strength team with a lot of motivation to get their 10th win, because Florida State has been a team that's been kind of a laughingstock in terms of their disappointment play the past couple seasons. And now they've got momentum with guys that are going to be returning in next season. They're going to want to get that 10th win and bring this momentum into the regular season of next season.
Not only that, it's a home game for them. This game is being played in Orlando, just a short drive away. Well, short in Florida terms. Nothing's really short in Florida terms if you're driving there. By the way, feel bad for the people who are having to drive to Orlando because of the snowstorm. That looks like a disaster.
I don't even know if people. Hopefully, people will be able to get there if they're trying to drive out a little bit, closer to the game. Things start to cool. I know just the temperature here we're supposed to get like a little heat spike in the middle of the week. Hopefully that helps flights and everything, because we need OU fans there, because it's going to be ugly with only Tallahassee fans there.
Well, and the thing about Florida State, they have really good support. They have really good support. And when they get going, when they get the war chant going and everything, it is Doak Campbell is a daunting place to play, and they're going to turn Camping World Stadium into Tallahassee South. I have a feeling, and it just that has to make you a little bit nervous.
Yeah, and especially with a team that has a strong, fan base that will be showing up to this game, because obviously this has been a fun team to watch for Florida State. With the team we're already talking about right now, their run game and their dual threat quarterback could really put us into a hole early. That's hard to get out of holes whenever you're going against good rushing attacks. Not a lot of times you can find yourself, if you can't stop the run, comebacks are really hard to come by. I mean, I'm not doubting our offense. Obviously, we can talk about our offense a little bit and kind of go more into that. We'll have Dylan Gabriel for, will it be his final game in Oklahoma jersey? Obviously, everyone's going to be talking about that. But our passing attack should be good. We have Marvin Mims and Braden Willis putting on big games. We've seen, I don't know if Jalil Farouk's going to be playing running back, but he will be in the wide receiver side of the ball. Hopefully, we'll have all of our weapons where we're putting up points with that kind of crew out there and healthy. Not having Eric Gray is going to hurt, though. It really is going to hurt. But at least our passing attack will give us a little bit of a chance to put up some points in this game.
Yeah, no Eric Gray obviously is a crushing blow. He arguably has been the best, at least skill position offensive player on the team this season. And then, not only that, but Marcus Major's hurt. Reports have noted that he's been in sweats and a boot.
He's in
Like
a
he's
boot.
not playing.
No way.
No. So the running back depth is completely shot. And then losing a guy like Anton Harrison obviously hurts as well, as he has opted out for the draft. So I will say the Harrison loss probably is one of the lesser ones because you get burned for guys like Tyler Guyton, a couple guys.
Tyler Guyton's taking Wanye Morris's spot at the right tackle. I think that Anton Harrison will be a little bit more serious because you're playing a guy, Jacob Sexton, who's already slotted on the depth chart as number one, no starts under his belt, and he's a true sophomore. So it's going to be tough. This is not a walk in the park.
No. And Florida State's defense has been very, very solid as well.
My bad. He's a freshman. I don't know why I said sophomore. I was already in off season.
No worries. No worries. I feel like Florida State's defense has been really good on the back half of this, with the exception of the Florida game, where, the Gators put up 38. But other than that, several 3-point performances, holding Louisiana to 17. It's going to be a bit of a challenge across the board, because I feel like it's hard to operate in environments like that, and if the defense just can't get off the field or can't get stopped, can't get off the field, that's going to screw with the rhythm. And I think that's going to be an issue that Gabriel and the OU offense is going to be having all day long.
We have some weapons to succeed, but like we kind of said earlier when we're talking about our defense and not being able to stop the run attack, you can kind of see a trend or maybe a plot to this story. You see Florida State doing well in the run game. They could get a lead early, putting us in obvious passing downs where that means their pass rush is going to be very strong. Pass rush typically is going to be stopped by your tackles on the outside, and whenever you're down both your left tackle and right tackle, puts you even more at risk. And if you want to spice things up, we have 2 freshman running backs to try to change up the pace. And guess who's the best player on Florida State's defense? It's their edge rusher in Jared Verse. So legitimately, if you're talking about plot here of this game, there could be a scenario where Florida State just wipes us off the earth. And I don't say it's going to be as bad as a Texas or a TCU game, because obviously we have a more functioning offense and quarterback can actually throw a ball, and an offensive coordinator hopefully, trust Dylan Gabriel to do a little bit more in this game. But it is quite the plot that it could be very ugly for the Sooners if things go down in snowball effect.
Yeah, it gives me a lot of vibes of the last time OU was in the stadium, when they played the Clemson Tigers in what was formerly known as the Russell Athletic Bowl.
No.
It was the last time Oklahoma was in Orlando against an ACC team like that, and they got completely smoked by Dabo Swinney and those Tigers. Obviously, they bounced back the next year, so that was great. But it was a non-competitive disaster of a performance overall. But who knows? I don't think this Florida State team is that Clemson team by any means.
Yeah, this is different. I'm pretty sure that Clemson game, they were playing their backup quarterback too, right? Wasn't that like the big talk in that Russell Athletic Bowl? Like I said, this Florida State team is full strength. I listened to a good amount before this of Florida State previews for this game, and man, are they confident. And I was thinking, looking at this game, 9.5 points, wouldn't be surprised at all if it goes up to 10. Maybe we can cover this, make it a high scoring game. I don't believe too much in our defense, but, maybe our offense has had a couple of, weeks to prepare and get a good game plan and put at least, 3 or so touchdowns up to keep it within 10. But these Florida State fans, Bobby, they think that they're just going to blow the doors off of us. The thing is, a lot of these national views of what Oklahoma is, it's not, these games where we lost close to Baylor and Texas Tech and West Virginia. The national view is TCU and Texas and what happened there. And obviously that's not the same football team, but they see this and they're like, okay, this is a team whenever they played quality opponents this season, they got absolutely demolished. And they lost close games to middle of the road opponents, and then they won the games versus the really bad ones. So what's going to stop a team like Florida State, a really good, solid football team with a lot of momentum and motivation to do well, not doing the same exact thing that TCU and Texas did?
Yeah, no. And I get where that's coming from. Obviously OU hasn't really been relevant in the national eye this season, and when they were, they kind of laid an egg or killed Nebraska. It's one or the other, and I think that's a reasonable take. I think given OU's what OU's bringing into this, they are undoubtedly the underdogs. This line opened up at 7.5, as you mentioned. It has ballooned up to 9.5, and could go higher. And I think there's fair reason for that. I really do. But I, if you want the optimist take, bowls are weird, and we've seen OU teams, kind of enter in this position where they're the underdog. You look at 2005 Oregon, for example, or I guess it would have been the 2006 year, or it was a Holiday Bowl.
I hate how their years work. It confuses me so much whenever I try to mix match them.
It's so wonky. It's so the Rhett Bomar year, they go in and beat like a number 6 Oregon team in what I would argue before this season was the worst OU season I had seen, and since post Blake era. So it's possible. Anything is possible, but just from a realist perspective, like the odds are just really stacked against the Sooners here. It's not great, but look, I'll say this: historically, OU and Florida State, this is a very lopsided series. The Sooners lead 6-1 against the Seminoles, with the Seminoles' only win coming in 1965 in the Gator Bowl. Other than that, OU has just had an absolute stranglehold on this, including several wins in the 80s in the Orange Bowl, where Florida State was on the doorstep of a national championship, and OU snatched it away, ruined it, played spoiler for Bobby Bowden and his Seminoles. Then, of course, you can't forget last national championship in 2000 was against Florida State in an upset as well. People thought Chris Winkie and that team were by far the better team, and OU pulled out a 13-2 win in that. And then that very memorable home and home we had in the early 2010s, winning, killed him in Norman, and then had that thrilling game in Tallahassee where Jimmy Stevens almost blew it and gave us that really good Bob Stoops face. That was a big Kenny Stills night. Very, very classic game. That was back in the era, the era of the land, not the Land Sharks, but you remember what it was. That thing Tony Jefferson tried to start. It was
yes. I know exactly what you're talking about, but my brain is also failing me as well. I thought it was Land Sharks sounded right, but
it might actually be Land Sharks. I don't know, but these are two storied programs, a lot of history, and a lot of history on the OU side, but also a lot of history of OU upsetting Florida State and getting results in the state of Florida when people don't expect. So if you're a believer in Sooner Magic, that's a silver lining for you, I guess. That's a little bit of hopium for you. That's the best I could do, really.
Sooner Magic is all we got right now. But let's kind of we already kind of talked about the plot of how this game could get out of hand. And honestly, that's probably the most likely scenario of Florida State controlling the narrative of this game with their run game and also their pass rush on us in obvious passing down situations. But let's kind of talk about a scenario of how could we control the narrative of this game, keep it close, and actually get a W possibly. And I think all of that relies on in Dillon Gabriel's hands. I think our defense is going to be kind of just what it is. There's a chance that they might make some good stops. Maybe they can get off the field on third downs whenever they've really struggled this season. But I think if we're going to win this game, it's going to be from a big-time offensive performance. We've talked all season. I've obviously been an extremely big negative against Jeff Lebby and how all of his games seem way too scripted. But in that type of an offense, you would think that these highly scripted offenses from an offensive coordinator would do better whenever they have multiple weeks to prepare for an opponent. So I believe in Jeff Lebby's ability to call a good game, and I think that he's a good, offensive mind. So therefore, I think we should have some good big plays, and we have a lot of our skill positions still left in the passing attack. I think Dillon Gabriel and Marvin Mims need to have a big game to win, and also I think that is a huge deal in decision-making for Marvin Mims right now, who's probably 50-50 on the fence if he's going to return and be an Oklahoma Sooner. So that is my biggest thing that I'm watching in this game. I don't really care as much about the win and the loss. I'm looking into next season and how can I retain these guys that might not want to come back next season, and Marvin Mims and Drake Stoops. And obviously there's a lot of Drake Stoops rumors coming out right now of him coming back and Bob Stoops talking about it. And all I want to see is, can this passing attack go out and have a good day, create some good momentum into next season where they would want to come back and try it again?
Absolutely. And, it's the last game of the season. It's a bowl game. Let it ride, let it rip, just have some fun out there and see what you can do. Really, be dynamic, see if you can put up some damn numbers, and, give some momentum into next year. That's all bowl games really are. And, I don't think anybody wants to go into the season with a bitter taste in their mouth. And, I'm with you. I think the offense is the key to that success, because I don't see the defense being able to, really make this a slugfest and win a game like that. So it's Levy's got to uncork it. This is his time to shine. This is his time to get real weird with it. Maybe not Texas weird. Let's not go that weird. Let's not bring up the wild.
Braden Willis quarterback. I mean, I think that's been pretty positive since we've done it.
A little Wild Willis would be fun. I could be cool with that, but like just a little bit, not too much. Yeah. Maybe no Davis Bevel. I would be very cool with that. But
I think Davis Bevel has the same mindset of Zach Wilson and Russell Wilson right now. Like he's probably just broken goods within this program. But yeah, I think so too. It's all in the offense's hands, and just like from a fan perspective of things that I'm excited to watch from this game, because it sucks seeing some of our good guys opting out and going to the bowl game or getting into the transfer portal and whatnot. But that always offers another opportunity for someone who's next man up. And we haven't got to see much of Gavin Sawchuk this year. And with Marcus Major probably not playing and Eric Gray on his way to the draft, you would assume Gavin Sawchuk could get over Tawi Walker in the RB2 slot, and maybe we could see a couple of runs from him. We know he has epic speed, and I understand he's still young and he's still trying to get into the system, but I want to see that type of guy and see like, hey, is this a guy who could be a playmaker in certain situations for us next season? I'm excited to see new guys that were highly recruited and that we could possibly see in small amounts this coming Thursday.
For sure. And, like we've been saying, in the lead up to this, and, the importance of getting bowl eligible, the biggest thing is practice, getting those extra practices in, getting more time with the team, developing. And to me, the bowl game itself is a big part of that. And, I think getting live reps against a good opponent that is trying to beat you is a valuable thing. It would be nice to win. Don't get me wrong. I want to win, but I think that I don't think you hold back on throwing the youth out there. I think you got to give them some burn. You got to trend towards the future. I fully agree.
Too. I think that's another name that we haven't seen nearly enough this season that we expected to. Like, obviously there's a couple guys in front of them, but could we play guys more like, would you be okay knowing that you get a little bit of a dip in production just to get a chance to see these kind of guys?
Absolutely. Because even if they fail, even if they don't do well, that's a way to learn. That's a way to get better. That's a way that's tape that you can look at and be like, this is what I did. This is how I can do it better. This is a mistake I correct. If they're not out there, that tape doesn't exist. Those experiences do not exist. And, I think for development purposes, yeah, absolutely get them out there. I think that is the most important thing, rather than, wins and losses and who gets a giant bowl filled with Cheez-Its.
Yeah, and I obviously I would want a big bowl full of Cheez-Its, but I know it's on another side of the ball. But you got to think of like a similar story when we're being blown out. And I feel like putting in a guy and just kind of like making his character a little bit stronger is like what happened with Woody Washington in that LSU game. He did get burned a couple times, but let me tell you something. We saw a lot of good things in what his footwork was and being able to stay with wide receivers and some of the best wide receivers you're going to see in college football that was on that LSU team. Absolutely unbelievable receiving core that they had. And Woody Washington, I thought, was a little bit admirable coming in as a young guy who hadn't really played much at that safety position. And that really set him up for success for the rest of his career at Oklahoma. I feel like that gave him a little bit more respect within the program. They got to move him over to cornerback. And then obviously, you know, whenever we saw him in Texas, that 1 year cornerback, it kind of just set him in stone as almost like our CB1 for the rest of the season and now the current. So having those opportunities, even if it might be a little bit ugly, like you said, it's tape and it's confidence and it's, you know, finally breaking through that barrier that a lot of these players that are young, that are really skilled and have, you know, a lot of, you know, gas in their tanks need to get.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So that is the key, is getting better, preparing for next year for sure.
Mm-hmm. I know we're gonna break this down in our next pod about like bowl pick'ems and stuff, but do you kind of want to give the listeners like a little update of how you think this game's gonna go?
Yeah, and I hate to be pessimistic, but I do think Florida State wins and covers comfortably. I think they just have too much firepower on offense. And not only that, but with just the amount of opt-outs, the amount of injuries Oklahoma has, I don't think they have enough firepower to go back. Looks like Stoops just announced he's coming back. That's great.
Is it official? Because I heard some rumblings, but I hadn't seen anything absolutely official yet. So
yeah, Jimmy on our YouTube stream just said it. So I believe Jimmy. Jimmy's a reliable source, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. I also was sitting on the couch before this, maybe like 20 minutes, and my dad read it in the comment section of a Facebook post. So that's my dad's been telling me all these like weird theories. I'm like, where are you getting these? And he's on these like little Facebook threads. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Like that, it's just, you're just running rampant with these Facebook things. But yeah.
At one point, my dad told me, I heard on Facebook that the entire team decided to opt out of the bowl game. And I'm like, oh no. That's not the opt out. They didn't universally opt out though. But no, I'm gonna go Florida State though. I think I just think all the factors just seem a little bit overwhelming. So yeah, give me the Seminoles, sadly.
I talked about kind of two scenarios. Like a lot of the times whenever I'm picking these games, I kind of just like, I hate to snowball and try to go down of like what I think, how this game is actually going to go step by step. I just close my eyes and I see, you know, Florida State coming out and punching us in the mouth right at the beginning, because it's going to be tough whenever we have a lot of new bodies out on the field. And once the Florida State team is up, their strengths are going to be at their strongest. You know, their run game is going to be able to control the rest of the game. And then it's going to put us in obvious passing game with Dylan Gabriel back there and two freshmen running back, and or maybe even a JUCO product and Tawi Walker behind it. And then we're not running the ball much. We're passing. Then Jared Verse can get to Dylan Gabriel as our two tackles are not playing. Trust me, I think Wanya Morris is the difference between him and a guy like Tyler Guyton. I think, Wanya Morris is better, but I think Tyler Guyton showed a lot of good things. Obviously, he's still got a lot to learn. And whenever you're playing against really big-time talent at a team that recruits really well in Florida State, it's going to be tough to block those kind of defensive linemen. So I think that we might get punched really hard in the beginning. We might have a couple, passing touchdowns. We're not going to just, crumble like we did in the middle of the season versus Texas and TCU. But I think it's going to be hard to control the narrative of this game. And I think we lose by double digits as well.
Yeah, it's a very, very tall task. But look, as with every bowl and every team, if your team wins, it's the greatest win ever, and we're making the playoff next year and winning the whole damn thing. And if we lose, it's a useless exhibition that did not count. So look, it's win-win, I guess. Not really. I could see us getting just absolutely battered, but I don't think the offense is. I think the offense is going to show up and respond and do well. They haven't had under Gabriel. They've been good. They haven't been blown out. He gives us a chance to compete in every game, and I think that even with Gray out, I think he's good enough to keep this game relatively close at some point. But also, I could see it getting bad. I don't know. We'll see. we'll see what happens at
I'm not
4:30
really
Central.
too excited for this game. Thank God it's the Cheez-It Bowl. That's really the only thing that's been pushing me along. I've been waking up the cheesiest every single day for the past 3 weeks, except for one. But I've been waking up pretty cheesy. Actually, you know what? I did say on Twitter there was one day I wasn't feeling the cheesiest.
That's true. You did
But
say that, yeah.
I was very tired that day.
At least we will be blessed with Prince Chedward, the Cheez-It Bowl mascot. We'll get
I
to see
know,
him.
and I need to see if Hang Time or Danny Stutzman or whoever's getting the Cheez-It sweets. I need to see what the Cheez-It sweet is going to be like. We need some content from that.
Yeah, we need the Cheez-It sweet content. We haven't gotten any yet, and I need more of that. It's not cheesy enough, but yeah. Oh, well, one game left, and then the 2022 season, Team 128, officially in the books. But I'm looking forward to breaking this game down, breaking the season down, doing that wrap up with the full house with you and Ty in the coming days, coming like week or so. I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
The holiday is so funky. We've been like so broken
weird
as a podcast, but we'll obviously get together here pretty soon and give an autopsy report of what's going on.
Yeah, and you've been busy with everything you're doing, with residency, and you were out in Orlando. You got scouted out a little bit.
I saw a good amount. I saw maybe like 3 or 4 Oklahoma fans out there. Y'all just chilling out for like a week before to the game. I was like, that might not be a bad idea. Make a whole vacation out of it.
Ooh.
But I was kind of like confused at first.
They're just pre-cheesing
Oklahoma fans here, but I think that people were just so excited to get out there that they were just going to spend, Christmas and on the beach, Christmas on the beach and then go inland into Orlando. Because I saw some of them in St. Petersburg too.
Wow. Okay. Love to see that. Sooners in the Sunshine State. Good stuff. All right, Jamison. I think that's all we have for this episode of the Schooner Pod. Thank you for joining me, as always, on this holiday season. And thank you all for listening, whether it was live on YouTube, which, look, if you listen to this on the podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, check out the YouTube as well. The visual element is fun. It's great for the weekend spread, all of our picks, all that good stuff. So make sure to go there, subscribe, check that out. And if you're also more of a YouTube person and kind of want to listen on the go, don't want to see these guys' face the whole time, check us out wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe there. And look, hey, as always, give us some love, like the video. That helps us out a ton. Hit subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm just rambling at this point. You know how to support a podcast or YouTube show at this point, I think. So anyways, cool. Well, that's all we got. Look, we'll see you on Thursday. Come hell or high water, no matter what happens. That post-game show is going to be entertaining. I'll guarantee you that. So until then, stay cheesy, my friends. Boomer Sooner.